All right. Well, let's get it running. Welcome everyone to NFT Creators Berlin, launching your first NFT project. My name is Morris Huling. I'm going to be your host today. I'm a project developer focused on the intersection of community building and storytelling. And I've launched this community because I feel that that's exactly where NFTs live. So my partner Alex and I, we really want to create a launch pad for creatives in the Berlin scene, whether they be artists or project developers, marketing professionals, investors. We really want for this to be a place where people can come together, connect with each other, and execute some projects in Web3. So today we've got a super diverse panel, people from lots of different perspectives around the space. Joining us first, we have Vicktoria Klich. She is the co-founder at Web3 and NFT Studio Berlin. We have Raphaël de Courville, who is an interactive designer and creative technologist. He's also the co-host of Creative Code Berlin, which I believe some of you are members of as well. We have Amine Kahlladi. He's the co-founder at Plei, actually a startup founder that I met on a recent trip to Spain. They are a DAO that's investing in yield-generating blockchain gaming assets, NFTs, and Metaverse property, a topic that I'm really interested in. So looking forward to getting into that. We also have Michael Ionita. He's the founder, CTO, NFT expert, and developer. He's also working on tech team building and community building in the space. So he's kind of a jack of all trades for us here. So we're ready to get rolling. So to get started today, I really just wanted to give you all a chance to introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about how you got started in the NFT space, why you want to be part of this ecosystem, and what projects are you involved in currently. So maybe we can start with Vicktoria and just go around and get to know each other a little bit.
Okay, yeah, sure. So hi, Vicktoria, really happy to be here. And so we started as being just like code university students in Berlin, the three of us. So my co-founders, Henrik and Jonathan and I, we only started product management, and then that was also the project we were working on was digital podcast personalization. And the thing is that we had an investor that told us to try to connect these with NFTs, and that was back in April, May. So that was actually also the first touch points we had with NFTs. And I remember that Henrik and I watched videos together before that, thinking like, what the fuck, who's investing in like digital assets, paying for pictures online? But the deeper we got into that topic, the more passionate we got about it. And we saw all these potential possibilities within this uprising technology. And that was also the feeling we had that this could be really big. So we literally dropped our project back then and wanted to fully dive deeper into NFTs. So we started with NFT Studio Berlin, which was mainly about coming up with strategies and projects for artists and brands, because this was where we were feeling had the most potential within that space. But even though in the US NFTs were a big thing, in Germany there wasn't. So the majority of people were actually not really wanting to work with us because they were scared of all these blockchain thing back then. So we came up with our own NFT drop in summer. It was the Golden Voyager party. Nothing, like I would say, nothing too big, typical profile picture projects, but we wanted to just have skin in the game, try out as much as we can. So we came up with this project, got a team of developers and artists, and yeah, made some small success, I would say. And then with that, a few investors reached out to us in October who were kind of impressed of what we did in like 2 months of work within that project. And they literally asked us to invest in NFTs for them. So they provided us with money, and we had the expertise about the space, and we were working on this full time. And this is how we got into the W3 fund. And this is where I am right now. I'm really passionate about what can happen in 2022 with NFTs, but also how the whole space developed within my experience of like 9 to 10 months being into that space. So I think there's still a lot of stuff to explore, a lot of projects to get into, and just try to get NFTs to the people, I would say.
Awesome. Michael, do you want to go next?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, my journey is a very interesting one, at least because it's so strange. So basically, I started as a tech person, right? Just coding and going to university, learning learning how to code stuff, and very quickly I can better than everyone else. So I said, hey, I can be a much better leader. I can create much better products because all you guys, you don't know how to do it. Okay. In any case, I started doing that. Didn't know what I get into, which maybe was good in that case, because I would maybe not do it if I would know what I get into. You know what I'm saying, right? So I started my own company. It was basically hardware and software. I was the CEO there. Any case, much too complicated for for my young soul. Creating my first company. Any case, and then went on to actually be. VP of engineering at a pretty big advertising company, and so on. I became CTO, basically the whole technical ladder that you can go on. And at some point, 2020, right? We all know what happened. We had more time to think about our lives. And so I started actually dabbling into YouTube and said, hey, actually I have some knowledge. Okay, let's try to share it with people in video form. And, maybe we can make some advertising money. Let's see, maybe nothing, doesn't matter. So started YouTube, actually worked pretty good. It was a no-code channel, right? Thank you, Morris, for mentioning before. I saw we did something there. And in the meanwhile, I also started looking into, I was invested in crypto anyway, but I never really bought NFTs. So I was like, okay, whatever. Let's start with the first NFT. Let's buy an NFT. It was on my to-do list, okay? Buy an NFT. So I had to go very deep into the rabbit hole of the Discord channels of all of these servers of all of these projects, and it was madness, of course. And at some point, and this is the story how I came into this business, because I found a project and I found that they're cool, but they're missing some tokenomics, in my opinion, that makes it actually more interesting for the future and more deflationary, let's say. Started being like the smart ass and telling the founders, hey, if you build this on top, then it's much better for you. Okay. Some point they thought I'm right, so they got me into the advisory thing. I was not part of the team, but just helped them out. So I got my first NFTs for free, which was amazing. So great. I learned a lot of stuff there. And then again, I said, hey, I can do it much better. I can create my own NFT project, which is what I did. But then I needed to code it. So again, I was anyway tech guy. So I started coding Solidity, right? EVM. Cool. Okay, fine. I get it. And now I got very deep into the rabbit hole. I'm still trying to get out of it again and actually tell people what I learned over there, which is why I'm here now, to be able to tell you what I learned. At least 6 months deep into the rabbit hole, ignoring everything else. And so I totally understand Vicktoria there, dropping the other project. And so I started actually coding complex staking mechanisms for games where you need to upgrade the characters, multiple contracts that talk to each other that you can also upgrade if you have any bugs in there, right? If you need to upgrade them. So yeah, a lot of tech stuff, but also important stuff, I believe, that any like serious project will need. So, and now I'm working on such a project where it's NFTs, right, with great art, but staking mechanisms, its own coin, its own economy that is deflationary, right? So all this stuff brought me to where I'm now, and I can share all this knowledge today. Let's see where this leads us. And if you're listening and you're holding some crypto and you're not so happy about the prices, I can only tell you one thing: this one. All right. So relax, it's all gonna be fine. We're all gonna make it. We're all gonna make it, by the way, also comes from the scene. So back to Morris.
Great. Raphaël, you want to take it next?
Sure. Hi. So yeah, I'm Raphael. I originally come from Paris, France, and I'm a designer originally, and an artist. I've been struggling to call myself an artist for many years. I think some people can relate. But this year has been a sort of revolution for a lot of people in the scene. And I'm talking about the artistic scene, let's say in general, but more specifically, I've been involved in the creative coding scene and the computer art scene, which goes back to the 1960s. A lot of people don't realize how long it's been that people have been making art with computers, and so we're all the children of these pioneers who started to use computers for art. And this I had like a first shot of the crypto vaccine in 2015 with a company called Ascribe. They were doing NFTs before NFTs, and they ran a hackathon in Berlin actually in 2015. They were allowing traceability of ownership, of custody chain of a digital tokens or digital artifacts or physical artifacts as well, physical artworks on the Bitcoin blockchain. Back then, the Ethereum didn't exist yet. So yeah, when the hackathon happened, it was 1 month into the existence of Ethereum, I believe. And anyway, that was really fascinating, but I felt like there wasn't the technology yet to do what I wanted to do. I wanted to make art that was sort of self-referential about its own value, and that would sort of respond to how its marketability happened. And there was no real way to do this. I looked into Ethereum, but it didn't seem very democratic yet. And to be fair, NFTs today are not as democratic as they could be either, but still a lot more people are involved. And yeah, so that's what kind of got me interested. And I was very skeptical because of all the environmental discourse that was happening. I was following what Nemo Acton and Kyle MacDonald and all these people were saying about the carbon footprint. Well, I shouldn't use this term, but the carbon impact, the energy impact of these of the Ethereum blockchain, which is still not a solved problem. And so I was skeptical. I didn't want to get into it. And I was talking with Rani Lemercier, who's very involved in environmental activism as an artist, and he was starting to mint on some platform that was about to open called Hicketnunk, which I believe many of you have heard of by now. It's been almost a year now of intense drama and very interesting drama going in all directions on Hicketnunk. I got very involved in the community around Hicketnunk, and one of the things that was fascinating about it was that it allowed you to publish interactive NFTs. So as a generative artist, as somebody who works with code as my primary artistic medium, having the ability to publish natively, to publish code as an artwork, and people collect my code, collect the artwork and see it evolved, being able to make art that looks different for each person who purchases it, or make art that would change based on how many people bought it. Like I made this piece that gets destroyed the more people buy it. And yeah, there's a lot of possibility. It felt like a complete open field for experimentation, which didn't seem to happen as much on other platforms, because Hicketnunk is open source, and now it's been put it's moving into the hands of the community, of the artists themselves, and DAO is going to get constituted, and it all feels very fuzzy and blurry right now, but I'm very enthusiastic about the potential for the future of the platform to be an artist-owned platform, artist and collectors owned even. So yeah, that's been my experience. There would be so much more to say, but I don't want to take too much time for the intros. Yeah, that was me.
All right, great. Amine, take it away.
Okay, hi guys, this is Amine. So I started with crypto, I believe, back in 2016. I fell down the rabbit hole really quickly. It was pretty much, I heard Bitcoin and I didn't know what it is. Of course, I looked it up in Google, and it was just article after article after article, and like a 72 hours straight in front of the screen discovering what this crazy thing is. And I really got in love with it because it helped me educate myself financially. A lot of concepts I didn't have any idea about. Quickly went into mining, actually. I started my crypto career with mining. I bought 8 GPUs, learned how to assemble that, download some, I don't know, GitHub clone, write some stuff, and I was mining Ethereum, in my apartment in Spain. So right after that, I wanted to launch a bigger project in mining, and I was mainly interested by Bitcoin in particular. So I went that route. We started a company back in 2018 in Sweden, launching an ICO. It failed, of course. And after that, so we never actually launched. And after that, I just continued again, full on with mining, looking more into locations that are low cost, Middle East, South America, these kind of locations. And then I started with NFTs, well, this year. So when CryptoPunks came out, we were there. I was actually hosting a podcast at the time. We had some talk about it. So it was always part of our research. We would see things popping out, but mainly it was Axie Infinity and Mawbox, which are two. Mawbox is like a game, let's say, where you buy NFTs and you can. These NFTs have mining power, So that was very interesting for me, and since we were selling hash rate to people, like the product when you own a mining farm is that you can sell hash rate under contract, and it was cool that you could sell that through an NFT. I thought that was such an interesting idea I can apply to my current business. But after that, I had to come back to Spain, and by chance I met one of my neighbors. We didn't really know each other, but we started talking about crypto, about how our portfolio are doing. He was into trading and more like forex and asset management. I was more into the crypto, so we did a deep dive into blockchain. We looked at our portfolios, we did some comparisons, and we decided to allocate some capital as like a let's do this venture together. And so happened that was Axie Infinity. We started playing the game literally to understand what's going on, what's with the cards, what's with the return on investment, everything. Really try to understand. And at the third day, we're like, okay, this is clear, that makes a good business case. We're not going to play anymore. How much money do you have? How much money do I have? Let's see if we can invest a big chunk of money here. And we did that. Yeah, I actually met Morris here. We started with an incubator in Madrid called Damium. We left quickly after that. Our valuation, I think, was not we did not agree on valuation, I guess, and we wanted to go the route of NFTs, which was not a business model that is highly encouraged in Spain, or cryptocurrencies in general. So we've been at it now for 7 months, and we are actually right now launching the DAO. We are in seed phase. We got some great advisors on board, great VCs. We launch, I think we closed around February of this year for the seed. We're trying to get to 5,000 Scholar in total. Scholar is basically, we buy assets like Axie Infinity characters, and then we deliver them to a gamer. They produce cryptocurrency, and then we share the revenue. In our case, right now, is 60 goes to the gamer and 40 comes back to Plei. This is what we've been at. And another vertical of the business is really investment in metaverse and metaverses that can allow us to develop or to create on top of them. So it's not only a vertical of speculation, but a matter of what can we do in this place. So we are now with Decentraland. Recently received the deed gift on Leapinverse, which is a very promising metaverse project. Bored Apes Yacht Club already have their own in there. If you're an ape, you can access and check it out. And yeah, so this is what we do. I'm really looking forward to hear from everybody, and any questions, we're here for that. Thank you, Morris.
Thank you guys for giving us that introduction. And so as a background, the audience here is made up of all kinds of individuals who are interested in the NFT space, interested in potentially launching their own projects. So I wanted to start by talking about what are some of the trends that you guys are seeing in the NFT space. Obviously, the metaverse is one of the biggest trends right now. So maybe I can pose this first question to everybody, and whoever wants to jump in. what is the metaverse? What does it mean to you? I've seen all kinds of different explanations and definitions for what this is. What does the metaverse mean to you guys? Somebody want to give that a try?
I'll go.
Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, I think the metaverse, as we're seeing it right now, is just kind of where the internet is gonna go next. I see it as you see right now everybody's launching their own metaverse, right? So it's nothing more than, I believe, when everybody's launching their own website, and website was not a thing. Of course, we have the NFT layer on top, which is really great, and the blockchain layer on top, because we can finally prove a private property, you know, in a digital manner, and that's great to help the ecosystem. As Raphaël said earlier on, it did a lot for artists, and it's gonna keep doing a lot. But metaverse in general, as I said, is imagine if you are navigating through different websites, and instead of scrolling through the internet, which is what we do now, you will be navigating through the internet through your keypad or maybe through VR glasses. And instead of jumping through tabs, maybe you will be jumping through portals, and you go from, oh, I'm gonna go buy me an Adidas shoe, to, oh, I'm gonna head to I don't know, Uber Eats and grab a burger and head to another website and do my thing.
Yeah, I think that's correct, and I think many people will do that. Especially the younger generation would be super open about this, because they're not already prejudiced. You know, they're not super used already in, you know, in the all this internet world, and they're open to trying these new worlds. But because I just want to mention that I know people, they will never actually replace the 3D, the 2D world with the 3D world, because it's crazy, right? So they're not used to it, it's too complicated. But I think it is the future, and I think NFTs actually help this future come about faster, because I think just the metaverse itself is a 3D world, right? Cool. We already have that, right? Since 2003 with Second Life and others, actually copycats. And I was one of the first developers actually creating crazy stuff and programming on Second Life, but it died, right? Because people didn't care. I think now the technology is much better. Internet is faster, right? Elon is working on internet everywhere, which is great and will also help. But I think NFTs are the key ingredient, like the special sauce, I would say, right? That adds on top of to make the metaverse worth more than what people think it was worth before, because it was just digital stuff, worth nothing, right? But now it's digital stuff that is worth something, because you have ownership, it exists only once, right? They have all their own metadata, right, attached to them, which is great. So I think, in my personal opinion, NFTs enable the metaverse to actually exist and bring value, because you can earn actual stuff, right? Coins, NFTs in there, which then have, real value in the real world. If you transfer it to USD, whatever, USDC, God knows what, and then you send it to your bank account, suddenly you have not just wasted time, right? Play to earn. Instead, you have actually created some value. And then you can go to your parents, if you're a young guy, right? Person, you can say, hey, I didn't waste my time, so let me play more of this 3D stuff in the metaverse, and they will be fine, right? Because it brings value. So I think that's important.
Just to add up maybe to this, I think the metaverse is also the environment for everything related to Web3. So as Michael already said, so being able to actively participate in the success of a project within a virtual environment and exchanging with people on a whole new level. And I think this is also super exciting. So let's say the Decentraland DAO, you can be in the metaverse, but you can also participate in the success of this project and actually vote on different perspectives. And I think this is also something completely new. But I think from where we are right now, it's actually very difficult to really define what the metaverse could be, because who would have thought that when the internet started, that 20 years later, we click on like buttons and define ourselves by followers. So I think this is pretty far away still. We can just make assumptions on how it could look like. And I don't actually think that the metaverse needs to be a 3D virtual world, but could be something way more bigger that we can just not phrase yet. Just my 2 cents here.
Vicktoria, I think
I totally agree with. If I may.
Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very passionate about VR and augmented realities for quite a few years. And the studio I was running in Berlin, which still exists, called Neu, with 3 E's, and shout out to them. We worked a lot with museums on augmented reality, mixed reality projects, and also for retail and different kinds of cultural contexts. And there's fascinating things in virtual reality, mixed reality, for sure. But I think that just like Vicktoria was saying, we can't tell right now what the metaverse or whatever we will call it in the future, if it's still called metaverse, I don't even know. But I think restricting it right now to ultra commercial, money driven thing, or to only virtual reality or only augmented reality or only the technologies that are emerging right now is dangerous, because it's still emerging, it's still changing, and it's going to change in the future. Who knows what kind of technologies have potential in the future? Is it going to be, brain computer interfaces? Is this going anywhere? Is it going to be a dud? We don't know. And that, whether that happens or not is going to mean a huge difference 10 years down the line. So I think we need to have our visions diverse and open, and not limit ourselves to this like hyper glossy concept videos that we've been seeing for more than 10 years now from Microsoft and others. And now Walmart is jumping in, but who cares? It's the same visions. I think the metaverse, I read a definition of the metaverse that I can't quote from memory, but that essentially was saying that the metaverse is a moment when most of us have more of our social interactions and of our life happening online than offline. And I think this concept, of course, it's very open, but it's a much more interesting way to look at it. And I was talking to a fellow collector and friend, Jesse Altman, recently, and we both had the impression that our life this last year happened mostly on Twitter. And even though I've been in a lot of social VR experiences in the past, and I love them, and I spent a lot of time in places like VR Chat and Rec Room mostly, but I never had this strong impression of a forum of people, of meeting people, strangers, and talking to them in the 20 years or more I spent online than I did this last year on Twitter, which is weird because it's not a 3D environment, and it's not immersive in any way. But it is. It is because a lot of us have moved online for obvious reasons and spend more of our time online, and more of our income is tied to online activity. Let's not hide from that. Yes, sure, there is a commercial aspect to it, but I think it's more about the impact that online has on our daily lives than anything else. And definitions fluctuate, as I was saying at the beginning, but I think at this point in time, we would benefit from keeping definitions loose and open, so that we can dream bigger and more diverse futures for what we currently call the metaverse.
Okay, great. I mean, it sounds like you're saying that the metaverse is kind of an inflection point, and that for many of us, maybe including yourself, we're already there.
In some ways, yes.
Okay, great. So what about other trends that you guys are seeing right now, especially with regards to utility or art or community building? Just want to give people an idea of what you're seeing in the space right now that you view as either, positive, hey, this is really great for Web3 and how we're building it, or hey, this is kind of a negative, thing to be a little bit worried about that's going on. Anybody have some observations on current trends?
Maybe it's important to think about what was trending, let's say in summer when we did our NFT project, because I think from now, this has not completely, but slightly changed. So what was trending for NFT projects in summer was have a roadmap. At 20%, you get an airdrop companion. At 50%, we'll buy plots in the metaverse. And then at 80 or 90%, we will buy the floor, create community wallets and all these things, which literally every PFP project had on their website, which back in the day was quite nice, I guess. But these utilities changed now. So right now, NFT projects need to have at least really fancy art. doxed founders, some kind of DeFi type of game theory
What does
maybe
that
inside
mean
of it.
for what does doxed founders mean for all of our listeners?
It's just that you either have linked the socials of the founders within that project. Could be a founder that maybe is not how do I say, like, visible but behind a profile picture, but has reputation. But the least you have to do is to be open and show who you are, and not just hide behind an avatar where people cannot really see what's your track record. So show your faces is basically the I would say the crypto word for doxed. So yeah, so nowadays you need at least reputation, a name, or you need to show who you are, but you cannot hide and be anonymous and stay anonymous. And what I realized, because we're looking into literally everything that is going on in the NFT space, that now you need to deliver way more to the people, which is some kind of like staking mechanisms or DeFi game theories, such as, I don't know, for example, like what Wolf Game was doing or is still doing, but started off with. You need some kind of Web3 integration, such as really strong partnerships or maybe games. You need some DAO-focused NFTs or maybe some launchpad things, such as what Journey Crypto is doing. So creating a whole launchpad about his NFT drop. And you just need to be way more creative. So it's not enough to have like 2D art and have a really normal kind of roadmap, because nowadays literally everyone is dropping NFTs. So you need to find a way to stand out and to create really outstanding value in order for people to buy into your project.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's really like startups, you know, like you have to, it's becoming more mature, and so people have to deliver more value, right? In the beginning, it was some people got rewarded without bringing so much value, right? Because it was a hype and everyone was had FOMO to miss the train, maybe on the next collection or something. But like in the startup world, it becomes more and more competitive, somehow much faster. In my opinion, it's moving very, very quickly. Somebody told me from the space even that 1 month in crypto is like 1 year in normal business. It actually feels like that, which is why when you get sucked into the rabbit hole, somebody mentioned it also in the chat, then it feels like you're gone for years, but actually it was just a few months. Yes, it's very interesting. So I think I fully agree with what Vicktoria has said. On top of that, I want to add some technical things, because Wolfgame, because you mentioned that, had pretty massive problems with the smart contracts. And the reason for that is that it is actually very easy to create these issues in your smart contracts where they can be exploited in a way that obviously you don't want to. And it's very, because the code is public and all these things are public, it's so easy for people to find just one thing that doesn't work and exploit it, right? And although it costs them a lot of gas to do that, right? Especially the recursive things where the re-entrants, but then at the end they get a lot of value. Okay, so it's fine, right? They will do it. And there is flashbot attacks that can happen on your smart contract. So if you want to know this crazy stuff, you can hit me up on Twitter, whatever. But it's actually very, very fascinating from the point of view how you can attack such a project, and that it's not cool to have a vulnerable contract. It's kind of obvious. But now it becomes like, if you have a vulnerable contract, then you're kind of screwed because people already solved these problems. Okay, like Wolfgame already had this issue, so you should have learned from that, right? So you should be up to date what's new and copy, if you have to, ideas from other projects or solutions for problems, and not have the same issues again. And that's pretty obvious, but it's very hard to do technically if you don't know what you're doing. Contracts can be messed up. So that's one thing. Security is increased, which is great. Okay, should be. Other than that, you have to offer, in my opinion, currently the trend is staking, some kind of staking mechanism. What? So you have your NFT locked into another contract that will give you rewards, and this could be coins or even more NFTs that you can then use for whatever, right? So you can be here creative, creating some kind of game mechanics that make any sense. And if you calculate this through and you think about this stuff, and it's not just basically like 99% of these staking mechanisms basically have an end, and then basically they reach some kind of, we don't have more coins to give you, right? Because we reach the maximum supply, and then the whole thing goes to zero, kind of almost zero, right? Because what do I do with this stuff now? It's worthless. So what they're looking for now, what they're looking for is do I find an end? Is there a classic end, or is the mechanic built in a way that it can go forever, which is great. That's what you want. Okay, that's what you want to buy. Because if it has a classic end where they don't have a plan after the supply is gone, well, what's gonna happen? Nothing gonna happen. It's boring. So that's why I mentioned startups, because startups are usually not just projects. And I don't know if you noticed, but in the crypto space, people talk about projects, and projects have a start and have an end, right? Startup doesn't have an end. Okay, startup goes forever, and if it works well, you find the next CEO to take over, somebody buys it, it continues, la la la, right? That's why it's not just gone, right? So if you invest in any crypto, NFT, whatever, and it has an end, then your investment also has an end, and you have to know this stuff, okay, before you get into this project. So better you invest in something that plans for longer terms, right? They are actually invested for longer, right? So they are not just there for making quick money, or even there for 6 months. It's not good enough, okay? Because you need to build something that is sustainable. So that's my take on it. What changed?
Okay, thanks. And that kind of brings up the concept of sort of the different types of projects that are out there. Again, audience is all thinking about how can I launch something. So can you guys talk a little bit about the different types of projects you're seeing? Obviously, Michael, you were just talking about the utility associated with certain projects. Other projects maybe are more focused purely on the art. Other projects focus more purely on community. Can you guys talk a little bit about the different types of projects that you're seeing out in the market right now, how they're adding value?
Okay, for example, in our case, the utility in terms of any NFT project we would get into is based on a few metrics, and the most important one is that I could use the NFT in a game environment. And not only I can use the NFT in a game environment, but I could run a scholarship program where gamers in an emerging economy can benefit from this. So they can get in, they can play, and the system is already set up for scholarships to function well and to function smoothly. As well, as I said, we are really looking into projects where we have the opportunity to create. So every project we interact with, we develop on. So if we have a land in Decentraland, then we need to have metrics about the whole marketplace, not as it's illustrated by Decentraland, but by others at the same time. And as well, for example, if we are talking about getting early into a project, it is good that if the project has intention of launching tokens in the future, that the NFT gives you access to these tokens. This is going to happen in our case. I think it has great utility because then before even the token launches publicly, you have an idea of how the market feels about it. So you can be buying a badge that gives you access to 1,000 tokens, and now the badge is worth 10 times more. So it's basically saying the token is worth 10 times more. There is no particularly artistic value to that NFT, maybe, or maybe yes, but it is backed by that amount of token that it gives you access to.
If I can, I hear utility and art in the same sentence, and feel like I've been called. But yeah, what is the utility of art? And I think I don't know how many of the people watching this panel are artists themselves, and I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. It might feel very confusing, this whole talk about token and tokenomics and DAOs and all of that. And if whether you're an artist, or I've seen people like artisans making specialty products. Yeah, that might all sound very confusing. I'm talking mostly to artists and artists working with code, but artists in general. And there are platforms out there that let you publish NFTs that don't cost huge amounts of gas, mostly on the Tezos platform, on the Tezos blockchain, but also on other chains. I talked about Hiket Nunk. There's also FX Hash, which is specifically for generative art, a bit similar to a previous platform called Art Blocks. It's on Ethereum. And there's upcoming platforms like Versum, also on the Tezos blockchain, and all of those have in common that they are more energy efficient than Ethereum, so less environmental impact, and also it costs like 50 cents to mint an NFT, not 500 euros or something. So it's a lot more accessible. And when we were talking about trends, I feel like accessibility, democratization of this of crypto art is a great trend. And I've seen a lot of people coming from countries like from the global south. That was a huge part of the vision of the creator of Higetnunk, was to empower artists in the global south. So in Brazil, in Malaysia, in the Philippines, and there are communities in all these countries and more, where artists have found ways to make a living in crypto, thanks to the fact that the price for entry is much lower on a chain like Tezos, and yeah. So as for the utility, I feel like a part of it as well, and I don't know how much the collectors care about this really, but I've talked to a lot of collectors who do care about just the aesthetic pleasure that they take in the work of an artist, or its cultural relevance, whether it's culturally relevant to the crypto art trend in general. And there's lots of very strange and interesting aesthetics being developed around crypto. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but this there's new aesthetic directions, which as an artist, I found very interesting, even though I don't like all of it. But yeah, it's really a renaissance in a way of an artistic, creative renaissance. I've talked about generative renaissance or generative art because that's the scene that I mostly watch, and that's also part of getting involved into the scene as a collector, is to pay attention to what artists are doing, and when you're a collector, an investor, I guess you also want to pay attention to the profile of the artist that you're collecting. How long have they been into making this, or do they have a very if they just started, are they very promising? Does it look like they're committed to this platform and they're gonna keep publishing new work? And also educating yourself, and that's something that may be controversial. People with huge bags don't have to worry about this, but I think if you need to invest in a more targeted way, educating yourself about the medium, maybe specializing in collecting photography or generative art or illustration or pixel art or something specific that you really have an interest in, and really learn who the names, like the names of the artists who are in the scene, who makes the art that you like, and collect the art that you like from the artists that you like, follow their work, promote their work, participate in making them successful, so you are also successful as a collector. And this is not very different to what has been happening in the traditional art market either. But yeah, from the artistic sides of things, which is a little bit different from these big PFP projects and stuff, I feel like the artistic value of the work that is produced is as important as the economics and the tokenomics and all of that, and linked with it, because the value of an artwork is the financial value of an artwork is linked a lot to its cultural relevance and to how interesting it is. Because 10 years from now, if you look back and you see that there was a trend and they were just copying this other artist who was doing that, then it's not going to have great value. So I think, like, if you really want to invest long term, you should think about how relevant the art is and how aesthetically interesting and tied to what is happening today this work is. Yeah, that's a very different perspective, I think, but it's also important.
But I think it's a really important perspective, Raphaël. Thanks for jumping in with that, because I think there are a lot of people in the audience who are artists who are looking to maybe launch an NFT project for the first time. Can you first of all, can you tell people exactly what generative art is, for those that may not know what it is, and maybe just speak to an artist who's maybe looking to make the transition from traditional avenues into NFTs. What is generative art? What are the tools that they can be using to create this type of art?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
guess,
sure. That's what I do. So, actually, we have a meetup tomorrow, Creative Code Berlin. If you follow me on Twitter, you will see the tweet, the Creative Code Stammtisch. It's our monthly meetup every first Friday, and anybody can come and talk and present their work if they want to. So mostly if you make art with code. So yeah, generative art is any art that is following a procedure. So, you know, if you write rules for the artwork to be made, to be generated, maybe you're throwing a dice, you know, you're throwing a pair of dice and it defines where you're going to draw a line and on paper. That's already generative art, you know, based on geometry or some arbitrary rules. And then obviously using computer code for this is a much more efficient way to go about it. So you can use tools like P5.js, which is a JavaScript library for artists and designers. Processing is which celebrated its 20 years anniversary this year. Well, last year now, is also a very popular choice. And there's tons of other tools that you can use. If you're interested in that, you can join my Discord. Lots of artists there can help you get started. But yeah, essentially, generative art, for the most part, is art made with computer code, but not only. And creative coding is the practice of using code for creative expression. And that's what I do and many other artists do. But if that's not your medium, don't think that you have to be a coder to make NFTs. That's not the message. If you're an illustrator, if you're a painter, a photographer, or a choreographer, I think what you need to think about for launching an NFT project is it's in a way easier for artists who use code because our medium is sort of already native to the internet in a way. It's native to the computer, so we don't have a lot to do to get closer to the NFT world, to the crypto world. We're sort of adapted to it already. And that hasn't been the case always. Like it feels very, it feels like a vindication for many artists, I think, right now that our work is finally getting recognized, because it's been decades that computer art was considered as sort of lesser than every other form of art. But I think if you're a traditional artist working with traditional analog media, you might want to think how you can bring your practice or your work to the medium of NFTs, because it's not just a distribution. It's not just a distribution platform like any blockchain-based platform. It's not just the place where you can put your work. It's a place and it's a medium as well. And I think you need to think of a project that will exploit this and that will speak the language of that medium, and maybe take some time to learn the codes and learn where and how what the collectors are looking for. And there are collectors for everything, photography and painting and everything. You'll find people who are interested in that. But I think you need to think a little bit how to adapt what you're doing to the medium so that it doesn't just feel like you're just getting in there without speaking the language, and then your work is not going to get a lot of echo if you don't. And also another thing I need to say, and that's true for every kind of project, is that everything takes a lot longer than you would think, even if you account for that rule. And so you have to be committed, and I think people see also that you're committed by the way that you talk about your work and about your what you're doing there. I'm not talking about being sycophantic and praising crypto all the time from the morning to evening, but yeah, I think showing that you take your work seriously, I think that's important. You're just not just playing around and experimenting, which is also fine. But if you want to be successful in this space, I think you have to show that you're putting the effort to produce the work. Yeah, that's in a nutshell. There's so much more to say, but I'm not alone here, so I'll stop.
No, thank you for sharing that perspective. And before we move forward, I wanted to discuss one more thing with regards to trends, and that's where are these projects being built? So it seems like the majority of projects right now are being built on the Ethereum blockchain. We know that there's some issues with regards to building right now with regards to gas fees. What do you guys see? And I want to get a few different perspectives here. Maybe Vicktoria, we can start from an investor perspective. What are the pros and cons of developing a project on Ethereum versus other blockchains like Cardano, Solana, Tezos was mentioned? How are you guys viewing that from the investor perspective?
So we're honestly mainly looking on Ethereum projects just because of from the investment point of view, the amount of money you could potentially generate with it. And I think releasing on a different blockchain also depends on the target audience and whether you want to flip or not. So the projects we buy in, we don't usually flip. We mainly also buy on the secondary market to just be 100% sure that this is a project with an amazing team and the long-term vision. But most NFT people are still on the Ethereum blockchain and launch on Ethereum. So the majority of people and money is on Ethereum. And to avoid gas wars, we had some solutions like Dutch auctions or whitelist spots. And these solutions are, I would say, all right. And for airdrops, these projects also might use the Polygon network. But I think what's really exciting to see, especially this year, will be the upcoming layer 2 solutions. There are solutions already, but I think this year will be way bigger for those to actively participate in the Ethereum ecosystem, because way more people are getting into crypto, are getting into NFTs. So my bet is still on layer 2s, but I can definitely, so what we will do is take a closer look into blockchains like Solana and Avalanche, because they get a headwind. And I think there's still enough opportunities for artists and projects to make a name for themselves on newer chains, because there are not too many projects on them right now when you compare to Ethereum. But it's just, from our perspective, we just trust more in the development and the long-term vision of Ethereum than on other chains so far. And this is also why we're mainly focusing on Ethereum, but we know that we have to be more open to other solutions. It's just that from the projects we invested in Solana, were not that successful as the projects we invested in Ethereum, just like from this perspective.
Okay. Are there any other perspectives on that, Michael?
Yeah, because I can very nicely add the technical perspective here, and also maybe some volume numbers, volume and trading volume. Okay, so I agree. I mean, on Ethereum, you have projects that have traded in billions of dollars already. Let's say those are the OGs, right? The very early ones. Okay, but still, you can scroll. I'm on dapradar.com. It's not perfect for every blockchain, but for Ethereum it is. So I can see here projects, many projects that are in the hundreds of millions of volume, like they traded in, this is the revenue kind of they traded, or the total money they traded. And that's good, right? Because it gives the projects the funds in order to continue on complex ideas they have and pay people and so on. And that's awesome. And then when you go to Solana or Avalanche or something like this, although I totally like Avalanche, and I will talk about it in a few minutes, I guess. But Ethereum has the most volume, even though it's the most expensive. Like the Louis Vuitton blockchain of all of the blockchains, it can do the same, but it's very expensive. Okay, can do the same, takes the same. And why is the same? Is because the EVM, like the Ethereum virtual machine, is the thing that actually runs the code, and that you can use the same code on Polygon. You can use the exact same code also on Avalanche. You can use the exact same code also on Binance Smart Chain, because I have it here in front of me. You can also use it on Harmony, and oh my god, right? So many. But people, they really love the security, the size, right, of Ethereum. Many people own Ethereum as a coin, or it's kind of easy for them to spend it on NFTs. Although, having said that, news, right? Recent news from, for example, Wizards and Dragons, which is one of the exciting or successful games, NFT staking games on Ethereum, which copied what Wolfgame was doing. Okay, they were copying it, making it better, right? Improving the security of the contracts and all. They are now migrating to Polygon because their game mechanics, they are so expensive, right? So people stop playing. They stop playing. So that's not good, right? If you stop playing, the whole thing is boring. So they said, okay, right, we're gonna migrate to Polygon. And now, funny enough, so I'm building something on Avalanche, but long story. It's a layer 1. It's cool. It's whatever. But Polygon, most people have this love-hate relationship with this sidechain, because it's actually there is one contract that bridges between Ethereum and Polygon, and if that one contract has a bug, and by the way, it had a bug recently, you can basically steal all the assets and that's it. It's over. Okay, there's one point of failure. Okay, technically speaking. Okay, so Ethereum developers or people that are really in the foundation of it, they really hate this idea of having this one thing that can break everything, because you're basically sending in your NFTs there, they are getting locked, and then they're getting created on the other side. So if you want to get them back, you do the opposite. So if that thing in the middle has any issue, and again, you can't really fix it quickly if you have, massive issue, that's it, it's over. So that's why Polygon is not the beloved one. But why are big games like Wizards and Dragons going there? Is because there is still a lot of volume. So people spend money, right, on stuff on Polygon. And if you're an investor, that's what you care also about, because you can go to the coolest blockchain that exists, right? But then there is nobody spending money. It's a bit boring. So after Ethereum, you go to Polygon right now, at least that's what people are doing. If they're creating complicated mechanics in games, and even Sandbox is moving to Polygon, okay? So basically people are moving to, they really hate it because the quality of stuff over there is lower, simply because everyone can participate, because it's cheaper, right? Everyone can deploy a smart contract, and maybe just so that everyone understands, deploying a smart contract for an NFT project, the simplest NFT project that you can think of, on Ethereum costs you about $1,800, okay? $1,500, something like this. Yeah, maybe you're unlucky, it can be even more expensive. So on Polygon, it costs you, I don't know, not even $1, no? So everybody can participate and create fraud and also cool stuff. So it's very hard now to say, okay, which one is actually the cool thing, because everyone can participate. So that's the downside of having a cheap blockchain, right? So, having a very expensive blockchain is not very inclusive, like Raphaël mentioned at the beginning. Like, if it's too expensive, not everyone can participate. That's not good. But if everyone can participate, you also have the problems that come with that. So you can keep that in mind. So that's interesting. And then the other chains is obviously Solana. That is the next coolest thing, where the most of the third place of money spending. And then you have all the rest that, maybe are a bit lucky. And I have to agree that Avalanche, I really like it because it's a layer 1 that can actually run Ethereum code, and it's actually very fast and it's really cool. And I believe in that thing, but there's not a lot of volume, honestly. There are not many projects that can say that they were successful over there, which makes it a bit harder for new projects to really believe in it and go there and actually spend their time in marketing, But then on the other hand, just if you want to launch something in such an ecosystem, go and talk to the ecosystem, okay? Because they really love new projects. They want to embrace you, yes? So that's what we're doing, trying to be like, hey, we're trying to do something really cool on Avalanche. Do you want to help us out, right? To make the whole thing better for everyone. So that can help as well. So try to, if you're thinking about the blockchain, don't immediately go to Ethereum, because you will have this scaling issue. And if you create a game, Ethereum is the wrong place to be, okay? Just honestly, right? So just be smart about it. And the last thing I want to say is, because I'm tech guy, if you go to something like Solana, because Solana has a different programming language than the other ones that I mentioned now, you need to find the developers that actually can code this stuff. And there are not so many, okay? So Solana, you find developers harder. They are growing, more and more coming, but they're using a programming language which is very, very good, but also very, very hard to learn. So compared to the Ethereum ecosystem, the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine, that is supported by many other blockchains like Avalanche, for example, like Polygon, like Binance Smart Chain, and so on, it's very easy to move around the code. Solana, you have to create the code from the scratch, basically. You can't copy stuff, right? So that's the challenge there. So you need to find developers that are actually willing to help you out. And I tried that a few months ago, and I was very unlucky, okay? So my opinion.
Thanks. So
if I
just Raphael, maybe as an artist, here, just to be like really clear, let's say that someone in the audience is an artist. They're looking to launch a project, not a PFP project, but just looking to get some of their art onto the blockchain where people could sell it. Do you have a recommendation for what's the easiest way for them to go forward?
Yeah. So like said, like Ethereum is like the Louis Vuitton of blockchains, and there's space for luxury. I'm well placed to know that. But there's I would say like Hikednung was sort of, if you had like your Louis Vuitton sort of luxury Champs-Elysees kind of thing, Hikednung was more like, or is more still like the back alley market or your street market where anybody can rent a little space and sell their art, and maybe somebody sees it. I think that the big collector, sometimes you would see the people with the Louis Vuitton handbag walking by and throwing a few $100 at an artist. We've had a lot of people coming in coming from the Ethereum ecosystem with aliases and anonymous wallets, and then just buying everything. And that definitely also injected more money in that space, and enabled artists to become collectors and collect other artists that they like, that maybe big collectors didn't know about. And so it's been healthy for the ecosystem. So there's also, the boundaries between chains is not as tight as we might have thought it by that we made it seem like before. But so yeah, there's communication coming and people coming and going from chain to chain. I've personally only been active on Tezos, on the Tezos blockchain. I don't know about Avalanche, and I've heard of Solana and Cardano and other places like other chains like that, but I don't have firsthand experience on this. All I can say is that the platforms that exist on Tezos have been really great for me. I can speak from my own experience and the few artists that I talk to who are my friends. It's possible to make a living on alt chains like this. I don't know what the strategy is if you want to launch a big NFT project like the ones that the other panelists are talking about. But for an individual artist working by yourself, and I only work with myself, I don't have interns or other people. I do my own marketing on Twitter. So that's a choice. Like, I want to see how far I can go by doing everything myself. That's sort of my thing. And so I think, like, yeah, if you're scared by the gas fees on Ethereum, you don't have to be. And if you're scared that, people were saying before that, but if you go to an alternative chain, maybe you don't sell anything. It might happen, and it might happen on Ethereum too. That's as an individual artist, there's all the rest of the work that I talked about before that you have to put in. But yeah, it is possible to make a living on Tezos, and I suppose it's possible to make a living on a lot of other chains. And as for platforms, I would say, like, yeah, keep an eye on Hikednung, which is reorganizing right now. But also next week on the 11th of January, Versum is launching. So versum.xyz. It's a new platform in Tezos. It's being built by people who were involved in the early days of building the interactive NFTs on Hikednung. And they're building this really beautiful platform. The whole UI UX design is great, and they're really committed to making a great platform in Tezos with a lot of improvements to also things like preventing copy minting and hoarding and flip bots and things like that. So yeah, they're doing great work. I'm on the Discord. I'm checking what they're doing. And yeah, I'm really excited to see it come out. There's also collaboration contracts per NFT, so you can make collaboration with another artist and split the revenue 50-50 or whatever split that you want to set. There's lots of really, really cool details, and it's really putting the focus on the art as well. So there's like art front and center, and you can have exclude all the numbers and metadata from the UI if you want, or you can display it. Lots of really beautiful things that are really artist focused. And that's the place I would recommend trying when it comes out next week. And if you really want to launch today, you can do it on Hikednung or object.com, which is another let's not get into details. And if you're a generative artist or a creative coder, FX Hash, so FXHASH, is an incredible platform. It's really cool. Basically, you're minting the code, and then when people buy something, your code generates an NFT for them. So they each get a unique one, but they don't know what they're going to get. I think Artblocks is working the same way. I'm not sure. I haven't used any Ethereum platform. So yeah, there's lots of very interesting experimental platforms. And if you want to try things, if you want to to get into it without investing a lot of money that maybe you don't even have, I would say that Tezos is a great place to be at the moment with the platforms that are already there. That would be my answer.
Awesome, thanks for that. And I'm glad you mentioned the way that you're currently going about, building your business and trying to bring your art, to consumers. Maybe some of the other
not consumers, not consumers. Emphatically, not consumers of art.
I feel like capitalism is obviously leaking into the NFT space, into the art space. We're highly, intertwined here, and that's why we have such a diverse group of panelists here who are seeing things from very different viewpoints, right? So I want to talk a little bit about bringing your art or your project or your community, depending on what kind of project you're launching, bringing it to the world, letting people know about it. Maybe you guys could speak a little bit about what you look for in project teams. What are the most important members of an NFT project team, and really what are the avenues for getting your art, for getting your project out in front of people?
Maybe then I can just start. As I said, from our experience in summer, where the expectations still were a bit different than they are now. So maybe I can talk a little bit about what we have learned and what was missing in our constellation, because we wanted to create a project that with utility that we thought was not there at the moment. And we thought that our passion and our drive is enough, and all the night shifts we've done, because we only were 3 people in Berlin. So we also needed to be awake in the night to talk with the US people. But nowadays you need just way more than passion. You need to treat this as a company and you need to sell out. And I think one of the most important things, if your goal is to sell out your project, so not being an individual artist who wants to distribute their art, but if you really want to sell out your project, is you need leverage. You need influencers or good marketing people that can push your project to the outside world, because otherwise, especially if you launch on Ethereum, no one will see it. And that was missing in our constellation. We thought we had great utility. We had a little metaverse built up, which was truly amazing. Like literally no one had this set up, and we invested a lot of money up front. But all of these things doesn't matter if there are many other PFP projects which was the case in summer 2021, that have influencers with 100K followers on Twitter just pushing the project, and everyone is jumping in. So growing organically nowadays is, I would say, impossible. If you can do it, it's truly amazing that then you're potentially a great artist or have a great community already that is pushing the project. But I think one of the, like, again, talking about bigger NFT drops than just an individual art drop, you need the right team. You need people that take care of the community. So a community manager, a marketing person, I would say from the experience is the most important thing. Of course, with a tech person and an artist who creates the art, but everything else is not as important as the communication to the outside world and to create some kind of buzz around your project and visibility. And yeah, I would say this is what was missing in our case, because I think we had a great project, but we didn't have the leverage back then. On the other hand, the most important thing, if you have a 10K NFT drop, because if you don't sell out, you cannot create the same value as you would have planned before that, and people are jumping off and everything. So yeah, it's very difficult, but I think this differs from first of all the project you're doing and the target audience to try to reach and the overall goal. So yeah, that's just from what we've experienced.
Yeah, I agree. I also had this experience. I thought it's cool enough to have a good project, but it's totally not. So somehow I always come after Vicktoria because it makes so much sense. So I think, but do you have any tips and tricks where to find these people? Because I'm still not a marketer, but now I know that without a good marketer, without good Discord management, okay, you find people that manage Discord. That's cool. You can manage that. I mean, if you manage to fight the bots that attack you and constantly come in with names like Decentraland and OpenSea, and they look super legit, whatever, different topic. But marketing, okay, like how do you manage to get people in without spending a lot of money, which we did, right? And then how do you know those are people that are cool? What if they're only coming for the giveaways, right? Which they did. So there are a lot of mistakes to make. And before you go on, maybe I just want to make sure if you launch your project like this, right, and you do marketing, don't give NFTs for free, okay? Try to avoid this shit, in my opinion, because then people just come for the free NFTs and they don't care about your project. They just want the quick flip, selling it again, right, on OpenSea or whatever. Give NFTs, but very little. Give them something else, okay? Give them whitelist spots they can buy earlier for less money, but they have to pay money, okay? Because otherwise, they will not read your roadmap, they will not read your white paper, because they get it for free, okay? They don't care. So just maybe that's one advice I can give. But how do we find the marketing people? Is there a platform? I don't know, right? But it's the hardest problem for me right now.
That's really interesting what you're saying also about like when I was talking about taking your art seriously, and I obviously come at it from a different perspective, but I can relate a lot to what you just said. It's like, yeah, don't just give your art for free, but also in a way, like, don't just mint tons of things and whatever, like comes to your mind and you make it and like in 5 minutes and just mint it. Like, yeah, take it seriously, take your practice seriously. And then also one thing that from an individual artist perspective, when the pricing is also extremely a very interesting topic. Like, if you underprice your work, and especially on the platform like FX Hash, where the edition numbers are quite high, like 500 or so, from 200 to 1000 range mostly. But yeah, if you underprice it and then only bots are buying your work and then flipping it, then essentially your market doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the people who operate the bots, and these people don't care about your work. They're just there to flip it for a higher price. So, but if you sell your work too high a price, then nobody's buying it. So it's a really tricky thing to sell it so that at a price where the people who actually care about what you're doing are going to be the ones buying it. And then you have a more healthy, I don't have a Discord for my collectors. Maybe I should, but I have a Discord for my Twitch. But I talk to my collectors, my top collectors on Twitter in the DMs, and I exchange with them. And that's something I would definitely recommend doing. Not spamming people the first moment they buy something, but if you see somebody who really seems to be interested in what you're doing, and then maybe they promote you, and sometimes they just write to you. Well, write back and talk to them and ask them what they like about your work, and have a conversations with the one who obviously care about what you're doing, because they are going to be your promoters in a way, and they are going to be part of your marketing strategy, because they care about what you're doing and they care about the investment that they have in your work, and hopefully both. And that's kind of, as an individual, if you don't have a marketing budget, that's one way that you can do it. Like, try to get people around you, build a community that maybe isn't even built around your collections specifically. Like, I'm on Twitch, I'm making content about creative coding, and I'm trying to help other people get into creative coding, not even specifically related to NFTs. I talk about it from time to time, but that's not the main topic. And so if you build a community around your work and there's engagement when you post on Twitter because people care about what you're doing, and you don't only self-promote, but you also try to bring value in other ways, like, writing tutorials, making videos, anything that you feel comfortable doing. It might be something different for you. Maybe you're more a blogger type, or maybe, something else. Like, how do you get people to care about what you're doing and bring value in as many different ways as possible, so that you get this sort of marketing or your content spreads more when you post something that is self-promotion than if you hadn't done this groundwork before. And that includes things like shit posting, which I'm very bullish about. Yeah, because if you joke on Twitter from time to time, maybe you don't always have something interesting to say, but posting every day is definitely something that these social platforms, for better or worse, are valuing. So sometimes you're just gonna post a silly joke or a dumb meme. I mean, don't just do it in a calculated way, but if something fun comes to your mind, just post it and see what happens. I think all of this I've seen real impact. Like sometimes I would just post some controversial stupid joke and it gets a few hundred likes, and then on the tail end of this, I'm making some sales on pieces that I had at the moment. So it's yeah, I think self-promotion doesn't have to be going into shilling threads and posting your stuff, because this doesn't work. And don't spam people or collectors with your stuff in the replies, because that also gets you blocked, and that's all that happens. So yeah, I think that you have to be smart about this if you're trying to grow organically, like Vicktoria was saying, which I think is still possible, though I might be biased because I was lucky to be on Hiketnung in the first week, and FX Ash as well. So, being first there's definitely a bonus on being first in platforms. So that's also something you can't always control. But yeah, you can grow organically. At least it feels like you still can, but it's a lot of work, and it's not only about self-promotion.
I just want to answer a question from the chat. There is a question about pricing, and you mentioned pricing also just right now. So
Yes.
I think it makes sense. So pricing is actually, I think it's a very strategic thing, like in any business, but especially you have to adapt your pricing to the blockchain you are using. So for example, if you're using Ethereum for minting, and the gas fee, okay, the gas for minting one NFT on Ethereum might be $100, right? Might be $120. Now, if your NFT costs $150, and the gas is $120, psychologically, that's not a good deal, no? Because you're paying almost the same money for the gas as for the art. So it's like, nah, it's too expensive. I will wait until the gas goes down. Now you can wait a long time, okay? Now, if your art costs $400, now the gas is $120, it makes sense. No, it's fine, whatever, right? It's fine. So don't put your price too low, because not only is it looks cheap, also people say, hey, I see in my MetaMask the gas is so high, I don't wanna, the relationship doesn't make sense, okay? Right? It says psychology. People will not click the button to buy. They will not approve the transaction, actually. That's what happens, because then they will see the money, right? They have to pay. So make your stuff more expensive on Ethereum, just because you have to have a good relationship there between your price and the gas fees. Now you go to other blockchains, it's very easy, right? Because there's stuff costs below $1, right, for gas, so you'll be fine. So you can put the actual price you wanted to put, right? That's cool. Just keep that in mind as well, because maybe you don't think about that. Going down with price, but that's also true in any business and not just in blockchain, is much easier going down than going up, right? So if you start with a higher price advertising it, people don't care too much anyway, because they're not buying today, right? It's just the plan, right? You plan to sell it for $500, whatever. Now, closer to your launch, you make it cheaper, you make it 400, everyone will be excited. Okay, you make it cheaper, wow, amazing, right? So that's a trick, going up with the price, it's very hard. Going down is very easy. Just make it more expensive, especially on Ethereum, you'll be fine. And also somebody said giving away NFTs is a good marketing strategy. I don't know about that. Did you try it already? I tried it for months. And
I also tried it.
You can do it. Exactly. You can do it with influencers. You can give influencers these NFTs, right? You can give, that's totally fine, okay? You can give like Morris maybe one, or you can give Raphaël one, right? So you can talk about you. But don't give it to random people just for liking or retweeting a tweet, because those people, the only thing they're doing is they're trying to win a free NFT, right? Which they will sell a minute after the launch, because they come from countries where they earn very little money, right? So if they sell your NFT for $200, that's 2 or 3 months of salary for them, okay? but that's not what you want. I mean, sure, you want to help those people, but you want people to spend money on it. You don't want them to give for free. So keep that in mind. It's something you maybe learn later once you already made your mistakes, which I did. So give NFTs, but don't just inflationary give them away for simple tasks. Give them away for complicated tasks, for inviting people to your Discord. Cool. For being active in Discord and writing many messages and leveling up, right? There is this rank bot for Me6, the Me6.com rank bot. That's cool, right? That's fine. So if they work for it, fine. If they just click like and retweet, that's not enough, and it's really giving away valuable art and valuable NFTs for not much return. So that's my learning.
Yeah, and also on cheaper chains, like on Tezos, you also have to consider the edition size. And when you said like you have to price it higher so that people actually value it, so they have psychological pricing, definitely a thing, but also it also depends on your edition size. So if you're making 20 editions of something, you have to price it higher than if you're making 500. But also one thing to consider is that there are different collectors. The person who is going to buy one for 5 Tezos is not the same who's going to buy one for 20, because people have, you know, different collection budgets. So maybe they will collect the 500 edition priced at 2 or 5 Tezos, and they will not collect a smaller edition priced at 20 because they just don't have the Tezos at hand. So it can be a good strategy to have different price ranges and different edition sizes so that you can reach collectors at different in different ways. Then you have the problem with bots, which you know, might be solved with Versum, but still a problem with FX Hash. I think they just rolled a new contract which solves partly this. So yeah, hopefully this isn't a problem anymore. But yeah, that's another thing to consider.
Great, guys. I really appreciate that, you know, walk through pricing. And just to kind of summarize, it sounds like with regards to talking about building your project team, getting your information out there in the world, really the most important thing is marketing. And we've seen, you know, a couple of our panelists have talked about, you know, developing really great utility, having really strong concepts, but if no one knows about it, it doesn't matter. Which actually cycles into our next event is actually going to be about building an NFT community. We're going to have some NFT community builders and marketers from around the space joining to talk about just that topic. But in general, this conversation, the NFT investors, NFT collectors, they live mostly on Discord and Twitter. That's at least been my understanding from my interaction. Is there any place else, maybe someplace in the metaverse that you know, that you can go to put your work, to get some exposure? Are there other avenues that people should be thinking about using besides Twitter and Discord?
As an individual artist, I think one of the new venues we see popping out are NFT DAOs, like are very much artist-focused DAOs. So you can reach out. They have basically it's you know, it's an organization made of artists. It's basically armies of creatives and financial guys, investors. So together they make decisions on which artists they want to promote. And I think that could be a good way. It's like think of it as an artist NFT incubator. So you can, through these DAOs, get exposed to their communities and to the communities of other DAOs they're connected with. They can help you with marketing. They can help you with the art side of things, with the blockchain side of things. I think they're great, and we're going to be seeing many more of them. It's not only about, I don't know, I don't want to define artists, but we see like DAOs for architects, for 3D designers, for, you know, it goes as specific as it can. So that's another venue there.
I'm glad you mentioned DAOs. This is another topic that I think is super interesting. I'm involved in several DAOs, including one like the one you just described, that's basically focused on identifying artists during curation. That's actually called Star Chamber DAO, if you guys want to follow, or if you guys are artists who have projects in the space. Star Chamber DAO is focused on identifying artists and really magnifying their footprint. So that's another great avenue. I think in the future we'd love to have a conversation about DAOs which are decentralized autonomous organizations, basically communities that have a shared bank account that are built around a single idea and are collaborating together around a shared set of resources. Okay, so kind of moving forward from project team, I just wanted to see if anybody has any sort of recommendations for tools, recommendations for artists that are getting started out. Kind of what are the first steps that you guys would take, or recommendations that you would give to people who are looking to get into the space? What should they do first? Who should they reach out to? What are the most important things for them?
Honestly, just my advice for everyone who starts with NFTs and wants to distribute NFTs, because I just realized this helped us in our constellation to really understand what's going on, is before just dropping any type of NFTs, maybe make sure to understand the technology and what's possible or what could be possible, because this can put you in a situation where you maybe identify a current trend or a future trend and create also these type of experiences with your NFT project. Again, I think it's always different from whether you're an artist or you want to drop a certain type of collection or a game or whatever. But we're still very early in the development. And I think NFTs again will look different, or NFT drop experiences will look different 6 months from now, the same as they looked different 6 months back then. So before just like randomly dropping NFTs, make sure to understand seriously what a blockchain is, what a blockchain can do, how maybe just like from the outside, how smart contracts work. I mean, I'm not that technical, but I really took some time to read everything, watch everything, just in order to understand what the evolution could look like. And then I think maybe while you're in this so-called rabbit hole, you maybe get some ideas on how to drop your NFTs, or what blockchain you want to use, or what leverage you want to use. And this is, I think, something you should do before just randomly saying, yeah, I want to do an NFT project now. Because this is what I've experienced also in the past weeks and months, that now that the hype is, especially also in Germany, which is pretty new, I realized this with all the inbox messages I got on LinkedIn compared to what was happening 6 months ago. People just want to do NFTs for the sake of doing NFTs. And I think this is just more toxic than helpful and not really creates value. But I think whoever wants to be creative and try something new should just like maybe take the time to understand where this might go into.
Yeah, I would add to that don't consider this like NFTs are not magic money from the internet. It's a lot of work, and yeah, I mean, some people may have gotten lucky at the beginning, but that doesn't mean that yeah, that's you can just hop in and hope to make a living from it. And the corollary to this is yeah, don't. There's a saying that you shouldn't invest more money than you can afford to lose, and I think that goes as well with time. So don't invest more time than you can afford to lose, because it's very possible that you spend months doing trying to do NFTs and nothing comes out of it. So don't expect this to save you from anything. Invest carefully with your time and money, only what you can really afford. And yeah, if you're excited about it and you want to do it on the side with the rest of your artistic practice, I'm talking to artists, yeah, more power to you, do that. But maybe don't put all your eggs into the same crypto basket. That's very dangerous.
Okay.
Sorry, I wanted to answer a couple of questions I see about charitable NFTs and getting involved with communities. I agree. I think it's really important, but as well for charities, you can see many different projects having whether an already programmed charity program within their business model, mostly if it's a DAO as well, or you see them acting upon what's happening in the world. Like recently for Axie Infinity Gamers, this is very well known. There was a huge a huge hurricane, a huge natural disaster in Philippines. So a lot of the guilds, a lot of the guild DAOs have mobilized capital, have mobilized people, and it was really just beautiful because at the end, guilds are just a bunch of communities where, as you said, being a DAO as well, we have a, we have a bank account in common, and we can take decisions for the good in those cases. And it's cool because we see as well, in our case, for example, we include this in an automatic manner where in the smart contract, if you are selling or you are buying the token on a decentralized exchange, you will get cut off 1% of that transaction, and that 1% goes to a charity pool that then the community can propose to which charity these transactions have to go and vote on that, and then we can implement and deploy capital for different causes. And I think that's really amazing.
Yeah, I would really agree with that. I think this is one of the most exciting parts of the NFT and DAO space. Is it's really changing the way that we can collaborate with each other and deploy capital. I mean, whether it's a specific cause like Black Lives Matter or women's rights, you're going to see NFT projects being launched, establishing decentralized autonomous organizations where people don't just donate, where they have the ability to submit a proposal, to vote on proposals, to actively drive where donations are being made, where investments are being made. It's really going to change the way that capital is being allocated through Web3. So that's a super exciting concept. Okay. Anyone else have kind of recommendations for the group, or should we jump into some questions?
I just want to mention Nifty Kit. I mean, I already put it in the chat, niftykit.com, which is a no code to close the gap between Morris and me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no code NFT solution for NFT smart contracts. I'm reading their website. Mm-hmm. And so you can create, I tried it out, okay? You can create individual art pieces, but that you can do anyway on OpenSea. But you can also create, it's a new feature, generative art or projects where people don't know what they're getting before you reveal it, right? Which is a feature, no? So they have this, and you don't have to program this thing. You can click it together. So that's nice. But having said that, because everyone can do it, you have to do something special, right? To be special. So yeah.
Right. And is there anything in the no code space for setting up your landing page or your website for minting? Is that
yes.
Something?
Yeah. You can use Bubble because they have a Bubble.io, right? Is a tool for creating websites with no code. It's pretty famous in the space, but they also have a plugin for MetaMask integration, which is exactly what you need in order to click the button and having it open up the MetaMask and calling the right contract function. So I would say definitely Bubble.io would be the place to go if you don't want to code your minting website.
Oh, wow, that's great. Okay. Well, let's jump into some of the questions that we received from the group now. One of them, it comes back to the different blockchains that we're on. This question is, what is the greenest and most convenient chain to mint your NFT?
I would say Tezos, but I'm biased.
Okay. Any other opinions on the greenest? I think this is kind of something that a lot of people are, or a lot of different chains are touting right now. And actually, like that makes me think. Once we get to ETH2 and we move over from a proof of stake or a proof of work mechanism to a proof of stake mechanism, is there going to be any reason to use these other chains? Michael, looks like you have a view there.
Yes, I have an opinion on this. Okay, so you have to listen to Bankless, to the I think episode 99. Yes, thank you, Vicktoria. You see, you know what we're talking about. And there was Vitalik Buterin, which is the founder of Ethereum, talking about this. And I had to listen to it, to part of it, multiple times because he's very fast in saying crazy stuff that has massive implications. And one of the things he said, and I was going through this, did I hear this correctly? And he said gas fees. okay, on Ethereum 2.0, which makes Ethereum a proof of stake chain, which consumes less energy, right? So you would assume that then gas goes lower because the whole thing costs less, right? The whole network costs less to run. And he said, yeah, at the beginning it will be cheaper, yes, but long term and even midterm, the gas fees will go up again, and maybe not as expensive as today, but they will be more expensive than layer 2, simply because Ethereum becomes the trust layer, but not the layer where you execute your game logic, or because that's so many transactions, right? So Ethereum will be cheaper than today, but it will not be the cheapest, even if they start implementing Ethereum 2.0, sharding, all this good stuff, because Ethereum will be so much used, there will be so much usage that the price will go up again, right? Because people are gonna come in like crazy, you know, like it will be cheap, so they come in, then it gets expensive again because everyone is there. So people will say, oh, okay, wait a minute. So I will store on Ethereum only the ownership and the very important things that defines the value of the things, right? But not every second or every time I change something. Instead, I will do it only once an hour, or which is called batching or rolling up, or roll-ups, right? So that's why roll-up technology like ZK rollups or Optimism, which is already live right now, Optimism, those are important projects. No, they will help. But once Ethereum 2.0 is here, to summarize, the layer 2 solutions, and I thought the same, no, the layer 2 solutions will not just die. They will actually be used for super high throughput and expensive, where you have many transactions happening in order to get something running, like a game usually. And you just store once in a while into the trust layer, the one that everyone is trusting, which is Ethereum, right? You store stuff in there to prove to your community, hey, it's fine, right? It's in the right place. It can even go so far that you don't even use a layer 2. Instead, you use your own data center, Amazon, whatever, and you store into Ethereum the state, which is crazy, I know, but for some use cases, this might actually make a lot of sense, especially when you have very complex calculations and you just want to prove that the result was that result in that time, so you can store it back into Ethereum just to prove to everyone. So no, Polygon will not just die, right? Because it's and stuff like that. So I thought the same but since this episode, I stand corrected. Vicktoria, what do you think?
Great that you mentioned that episode, May. Honestly, it's I was truly amazed, and I also had to listen to it several times because Vitalik is a very, very smart person and knows how to articulate himself. But yeah, also what I've really learned, because I was also asking myself, what is actually the future of other layer 1s or layer 2s once Ethereum get to the state where it's a proof of stake blockchain with higher throughput? It will take some more years, first of all. So up until the fact that we reached this state, it will take a lot more stages and updates. And just looking back, I'm in the NFT and crypto scene for 1 year. What happens in 1 year, and looking into the future, what could happen in the next 2 or 3 years, I would say regardless of whether Ethereum reached the ETH 2.0 stage, it still makes sense to make use of other blockchains. And I still think the future is multi-chain, because every other blockchain has their own USPs and their own communities. The code is open source, and the whole psychology lies down in people like using the code, trying out different things. So why should people stop using, let's say, Solana or Avalanche in the future just because Ethereum is all of a sudden a proof of stake blockchain? I think until this happens, we will have so many other projects and maybe new technologies and token standards coming out that I can imagine that we just have all types of different blockchains working next to each other, and in the best case also communicating with each other, such as what Polkadot or Cosmos are visioning. But yeah, I think up until now, it's actually great that we have different choices, especially the more people are coming into this market, that they have that they can choose on what blockchain they want to work or they want to distribute their NFTs on.
Awesome, thank you. And speaking about chains, I want to ask another question for Amine. What would you say is the most successful chain for gaming NFTs, and why?
I'd say it's Binance Smart Chain. Like in terms of volume, is the one that has picked up the most in games. It's pretty cheap and pretty fast. Actually, minting on BSC is a great experience. Even Polygon is really, really good. But if I had to compare, according to my personal experience, BSC and Solana are the best ones. And then in terms of the future, so this is right now, but I think in the future, we're going to see a huge gaming ecosystem coming into Solana. We've seen as well in November, they announced a 100 million fund to invest in blockchain gaming. So that is, as it was said before, you know, the actual ecosystem is willing to help for projects to get on board. And now one of the most anticipated blockchain games for the next year is the Star Atlas, and it's built on Solana. So definitely is I think Solana is going to be having a great voice, but who knows? Again, this is crypto. In a couple of months, a new blockchain can come out, which is specific to gaming, raise a lot of money, and become the number one, you know?
Okay, awesome. Another question for Raphaël. How do you market your NFT with a small budget, and how much would it cost for an artist to bring their NFT project to the blockchain? Which is kind of a broad question for you, but
yeah. Let me spend the next 2 hours. No, so the way that I market, as I said, I have a very roundabout approach to marketing, and I don't know if it would work for anybody else but me. But yeah, I did start with a little bit of following on Twitter, which definitely helped, but it grew enormously in the last year, and I think like using the platform that you're most familiar with is generally the advice. If you're mostly on Instagram, I don't know how much Instagram is helpful for NFTs. I've never been too much an Instagram person. I was already addicted to Twitter, so I had an unfair advantage there. But the thing is, on Instagram, you can't put links in posts, and I think that's a huge problem for NFTs, because when you announce something, you want to be able to post a link. It sounds silly, but it makes a huge difference. So I would say, like, yeah, use Instagram to post, you know, your beautiful renders and things like that, but then use Twitter to reach collectors. And yeah, in terms of marketing, I already kind of answered that in the sense that I think it's good to not only post about your work and not only post about self-promotion. So otherwise people are just going to mute because you're not bringing much value apart from whether they're really into your work. So posts, if you post about your work, post making offs, explain why people should care about what you're making, post tutorials on topics that you figured out while you were making it. And I think that goes for everything. You know, tutorials can be about code, but if you're a painter, you could also make videos about, you know, your techniques, and try to think about which ways you can actually help other people who are in this field. And one thing I did, for example, was early on, I made a very long thread about books regarding computer art and generative art, directed towards collectors, because it's my impression that, you know, the more collectors especially know about the medium, the more successful they will be in the long term, unless they have huge bags and they buy everything and sort it later. But not everybody can do that. So you know, think about what kind of value you can bring to other artists, other collectors, and generally people who might be interested in the kind of art that you make, whether they're involved in crypto or not, because there are also going to be people who are supporting you by just liking what you post, which is the currency on Twitter, like it or not. I don't particularly like that, but that's the truth of the matter. So that is what you want. You want to, and I hate to speak like a social media manager, but you want to increase engagement on what you're posting. And one way to do this is by posting stuff that people are actually interested in, not just your self-promotion and your jobs.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you're saying, you know, bring value first before you expect value from your community.
Help people out.
No, yeah, go ahead. I was going to say another question just for everybody, anyone who can answer. What are some of the legal and data issues related to starting an NFT project, specifically in the EU? Does anybody can answer that question?
I mean, answer not, but because I'm not a legal, no legal advice, you know. But I can tell you where to take care at least, or I cannot tell you, but I can hint. I cannot tell you anything. I can just hint. So I totally recommend remembering the e-commerce guidelines. It's called in Germany e-commerce Gesetz. Okay. What do you have to do when you do e-commerce? When you sell stuff online, you have to send an invoice. You have to send an invoice with the name of the guy buying this stuff. Can you do this with NFTs? No, you're screwed. Okay, so that's one thing that is maybe the one of the most important things. You're selling stuff to people that are anonymous. You're not even sending invoices. So oh my God, you know. That's why many people are not doxxed, or they are still anonymous, because you know, if they make a lot of money, they might pay taxes, but or might not, you know. But definitely nobody can say, "Hey, we saw you have some NFT stuff, right? Did you, you know?" You say, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." So that's one thing that is a very gray area. Somebody said in the chat, it's a very gray area because you could send invoices. I mean, not send invoices, but you could have people be able to. Technically, I'm speaking. Okay, this is technically possible. They can go to your website where you have minted, and they can click on a button to generate an invoice for their transaction, because the transaction is on the blockchain. You can read it. Everything is there, no? And they can put in their name and everything and download it just for themselves, okay? But you didn't generate the invoice, so you can't send it to your tax advisor because you don't even know who the other guy is to put the name on, right? So if the price is low, then it's not a problem because you go and buy stuff anonymously all the time, right? But if the price is high, right, talk about $300, $400, $500 NFTs, then usually, you know, you should put the name on it. But again, I'm not a super advisor. I'm just saying e-commerce Gesetz important.
Okay, yeah, it's something to think about. I think
I'm gonna say I made a small group chat on Twitter with other artists in Germany, and we're trying to figure it out. And everybody talks to their tax advisor and gets a different answer. So it's really tricky. I think what eventually is going to happen is we're all going to do it to the best of our ability, and then compare notes. What happened? Who's in prison? Who's still there? And I mean, it's a bit scary. It's the scary part of it, but I'm trying personally to do it as legit as possible on everything. I'm doxed since I just learned that term, so I'm doing it all in the open. But it's tricky because you have no guidelines and law is not written.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, so just scanning the chat here. Anybody else has questions, feel free to drop them into the chat, or we can get you in here to ask a question directly. Another one, somebody asking about Immutable X. Can anybody on the topic talk about what Immutable X is, how it works? And
I can only say that I tried to launch a complex project on Immutable X, had a call with them, and they told me that actually they don't support complicated smart contracts, which means that they have a very limited feature set of what they actually support when it comes to contracts, and you have to write your code specifically to their feature set, because Immutable is basically its own platform that has a launch pad and has a community, and it's all great, and they have their own coin, and you have to use IMX coin in order to buy these NFTs, and that's all great. But for some reason, it's not EVM compatible, like it's at least not fully or whatever. And I told them, hey, we want to do this staking game with all this crazy stuff. And they were like, oh, no, it's too early. We're not yet there. So, but what is good about Immutable X, they have this community, and it can be very, very cool if you launch something more simple, which is basically just minting NFTs. That's what I'm saying when I mean simple. But those NFTs can't do much, okay? Then you can use Immutable X's power to spread the word about your project, and so you have a bit easier way of marketing, you know. So that can be interesting. But I think they still have to improve the platform, the technical offering, so that you can actually launch something greater. But having said that, if you're one of the first people to launch something complicated, more sophisticated on Immutable X, can be a great advantage for you.
Right. All right, well, we're coming towards the end of our time here. Maybe we can just go around if anybody wants to share anything with the audience about how they can connect with you guys, what you guys are are doing in the near term, feel free to do that. Also, we're going to be distributing a link to the entire community for our new Discord platform. You guys can connect with all of the panelists there. I'll let you guys go around and share anything if you like. Vicktoria, you want to start?
So let me think. Okay, so first of all, I can also write down in the chat how people could potentially reach out to me also on LinkedIn, because this is where I try to be currently as active as possible. And for the future things that we in our constellation of the W3 fund have in mind is also actually distribute way more content, because since we started with working on NFTs, investing into NFTs in this Berlin bubble we're in, and this hype also got into Germany, I'm actually approached by a lot of people just explaining what NFTs are and potential use cases, and hey, can you help me build my NFT project some kind of ways. So I think from our side, we will distribute way more content about the future of NFTs and how it fits into this Web3 bubble. So yeah, definitely looking forward into that. And hopefully what I'm really into is also, we spoke about this before, is DAOs. And from the experience we've made with launching our own NFT project, we actually want to also launch our own DAO project, just because of the fact that you can learn so much while just trying it out. So not for the sake of getting a lot of money, but it's just that I think to understand this complex technologies, it's really, really cool to try out by yourself. So yeah, this is just my last words to the audience.
Okay, Michael, you want to go next?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to advertise my NFT project or anything like that. It's cheating, okay? So I will do it the organic way, okay? But I want to share my my Twitter here, and yeah, my LinkedIn also. I think that's a good idea. And so I'm the tech guy, if you didn't notice already. So if you have any questions about the feasibility of your project, or even if it makes any sense, right? Because I see a lot of stuff, I have to. Then let me know. I'm active on both platforms, although because I'm a tech guy, sometimes I'm trapped in my thing, so I might answer you a day later. So it's all normal, okay? It's normal behavior. But I would love to hear from some of you, and yeah, it was a fun panel. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Michael. Raphaël?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm also streaming on Twitch about creative coding and sometimes about NFTs. So yeah, you can follow me there. I posted the links above. I'm also on Twitter at SableRaf, and same on Twitch. And I have a Discord, which is not specifically about NFTs, but more about art made with code. So if you're interested in that, maybe you want to learn creative coding, yeah, join in. We have a nice small community of people making cool art with computers.
Awesome. Amine?
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening, and thank you, Maurice, for inviting us. I dropped my Discord handle, Amine Plei, on my Twitter there, and I'm gonna drop now my LinkedIn. I would say LinkedIn is the one where you have the most chance that I would answer you on. And Twitter is new, so I'm looking forward for advices on how to market my personal Twitter. Let me know.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Again, I think we hit on the topic of marketing and community building as being a really important topic. That is what we're going to cover in our next edition of NFT Creators. We'll have a panel to talk just about marketing, community building, and getting your projects out there. So look out for that post here in the next week or so. We will reach out to you guys with information about our joining our Discord. You can find us on Twitter as well. I do some writing in the space on Medium. I just dropped that concept. My background is in fundraising, so really interested about how NFTs and DAOs can be used for social impact, for fundraising, for crowdfunding, things like that. But really thank everyone for coming out today or for joining us in this digital space here in the metaverse. And thanks so much to all the panelists for joining and bringing their perspectives. We will see all of you guys next time. Thanks a lot.